Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhoefer of Sic'Em365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Grayson Grundhoefer, Sic'Em365.com recruiting analyst and also co-host with Craig of the Bearcast, wrote a story today in the Sic'Em 365 premium section predicting the Big 12 season, week 1. It goes over certain games. Grayson, thank you very much. I have to ask you that. I don't know how to predict games after I know what they are that week or the week before during that year. Is this something you kind of just enjoy, as kind of just have fun with it?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting, Smokey, but I think it was like 2012, on ESPN, a guy named Jake Trotter started doing these week-by-week predictions during the off season, and I just loved them. And actually, like, for some of my friends, I would do it for Baylor. I had a friend that went to A&M and a friend that went to Tech, and I just did it just for, the 3 of us, just for fun. And then, time passed and Jake left ESPN or stopped writing it. David Ubbin started doing it for a little bit, but really it was the Jake Trotter one that really, kind of inspired me. And then over the last 4 years, I've been doing it every year for the Big 12. So I have a lot of fun with it. I know a lot of the members on our site love it as well. And then it's also a free article, so anyone can go in and read it and see kind of my take on how things are going to go. Obviously, I'm not going to get every single game right or every single score right, but it's kind of my general thoughts of where we're at currently in the season, and I'll be done with it by the time the season starts, so everyone can kind of lock me into my predictions before the year.
By the way, we have a lot of West Virginia fans, some Pittsburgh fans, and that game is a part of course, the Week 1 predictions. Paul?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. Are you pandering to our West Virginia fans with that pick?
Yeah, it's a really interesting game, to be honest with you, because I think everyone going into that game is going to be like, all right, let's see the fireworks, right, with Keaton Slovis and JT Daniels. I think everyone's, thinking, oh, this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I actually don't see it like that. I think it's going to be a really physical game. Both these teams are going to be fresh from the offseason. Both have quite a bit of high hopes on the defensive side. But the storyline going in is going to be JT Daniels versus Keaton Slovis because they were on the same team at USC. And then also the fact that just this game is back after being gone for 11 years. So, you're going to have to read it. I don't want to give anything away because you can just go right to the article and see it. But I definitely I think West Virginia is going to be a pretty good team this year, and I think Pitt will be a good team. So it's going to make for probably the best game of Week 1.
Grayson, another new commit this week to talk about as Baylor strikes with their 23rd pledge now overall, and we still got, 6-7 months until National Signing Day, but a couple days ago, Trey Wilson, defensive lineman out of Garland, Texas, made his pledge to the Bears. What can you tell us about Trey and what all this means overall?
Yeah, so it took a little bit longer than I expected. I put a prediction in back on June 26th, which was right after his official visit. And I think all indications after that visit was, Baylor was the place for him. He had a lot of offers and a lot of them were out of the state. And so I feel like he just kind of sat back, went on the visit, and really his relationship with Dennis Johnson, Dave Aranda, the person over player thing came up a lot with him. I think all of that combined really just made the decision an easy one. And for Baylor, they were able to, kind of get that last official visit because he'd already been on 3 other official visits before the Baylor one. This is a great pickup for Baylor. I mean, he's got 30 offers. You're talking about, Arkansas, Florida State, Miami, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, USC, Utah. So some really, really good programs in there. And I think he's a guy that fits Baylor's scheme really well as they're trying to get more athletic up front. They want to create more pressure with their defensive line and jack position. And I think Trey Wilson can come in and continue to add to kind of what they've assembled with this pass rushing core. It's very impressive what they've done in this class in that regard.
Yeah, so 23 now, and it's not even August 1st yet. So they're down to their final spots. I mean, they have to be, but what does that kind of look like? And the second part to that, you've got 3 DNs now with Trent Thomas, Trey Wilson, and Jaron Woods, along with DK Kalu, who we've talked about as more of a nose. So 4 guys on the front, although, various roles. How do you see not only where they are class-wise overall, but defensive line-wise where they are overall?
Yeah, so actually Trey is kind of in the mold right now as being a jack.
Okay.
So I think that's where they actually see him starting. It's pretty interesting because he's 245 pounds already. So he's kind of getting up there weight-wise. But for right now and for just kind of my view of the class, I have him plugged into the jack position, which he'd be alongside Corey Kelly in that role. But as far as the defensive line goes, I think they have one more spot left. And it seems like Colleen Ellison's Brendan Bent and Northwood, Louisiana defensive lineman Tadarius Collins are the two guys to keep an eye on there. I think they want to add at least one of those guys to the mix. And then I also think they're going to have one more best available slot. And that spot could go to the defensive line as well, as we're going to kind of see what Samu, the big Atascocita nose tackle, what he's going to do. He's got his decision coming on July 30th. So he's a mammoth of a prospect. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Apu Aika at Baylor. So we'll see what happens there. I also think they have a little bit of wiggle room as well, spots-wise. And I'm starting to get to the point where it looks like it might be closer to 26 or 27, actually, in this class. They've been able to kind of wiggle around and I think find some more spots. But that's kind of my anticipation now, just based on how much contact they've had with a lot of other prospects and kind of where I see the current class and how I see some needs here or there, especially along the defensive line and potentially just best available type guys as well as the season progresses.
While you were talking, I just happened to see a Twitter feed. It's got a picture, 7-on-7, Austin Novosad, whatever. Among all the years you've covered Baylor recruiting, where is he among the interest or the questions or the amount of bandwidth, so to speak, that you get on a recruit?
Yeah, he's got to be at the top, I would think. And, the reason for it really, Smokey, is just the fact that he committed so early, that I think it led to people even asking questions right after he committed, just being like, oh, but he's an A&M legacy. We got to watch, A&M. We got to figure out, are they going to offer him? What happens if they offer? So I got that question for months, it felt like. And then the offers started to trickle in, and then the visits started happening. And so, yeah, he didn't get that offer, the Ohio State offer, till June 1st. So that's when questions really started exploding. But it was happening before that, just because of, people just kind of projecting that he was going to get these kind of offers, which obviously did happen. So, yeah, I would say he's probably at the top as far as guys that I've received the most questions with for the longest time, just because his recruitment has been so Baylor-focused from the very beginning.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you very much, Grayson, for what you do. Throwing out stories left and right. There's so many things, and then we trim it up. He does a lot of that. And next thing you know, here comes more of this and that.